Welcome to another episode of Progress Always. Mike Andrews here, and it's always our intention to help our audience eliminate stress by prioritizing their health and creating alignment. And I'm here today with Dr. Sean Pastuch, founder of Active Life, and he's here to explain what it means to turn pro. Thank you so much for joining us, brother.
My pleasure. I appreciate you having me on. I've been calling you Michael. Do you prefer Mike?
Either one.
Okay.
Either one.
Your parents spelled it so interestingly. I feel like you got to use the whole thing.
So all the boys in my family, I'm number 2 of 4, and we all have Y's in our name: Gail, Michael, Eric, and Brian.
Okay.
Yeah. And my wife and I decided to carry that forward and naming our children Tristan with a Y and Cameron with a Y. Yeah,
that's cool. It's a nice little twist for the Anders family.
Yeah, man. It's something that we can pass along, and that becomes part of our legacy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We've run in the same circles for quite some time now, and it's only recently that you and I have been able to connect and have these high frequency conversations. And I'm eternally grateful for this connection specifically, because your message on social, on podcasts, and just in conversation resonates so high with me. And I think I know it's going to add tremendous value to the audience today. And I want to lead off with this question. I have a tattoo on my left arm that says, "I only got this far because of what I did not know." And it's my way of saying that curiosity should lead the way. And I'm curious, in that vein, what is it that you didn't know that has led you down this path to growing Active Life?
I had no idea how hard it was going to be. I grew up being the guy who could outwork any problem. Mm-hmm. No matter what the problem was, I could find a way to outwork it, whether it was needing to make an extra buck or convincing my wife not to break up with me when we were dating in college. No matter what the problem, I could outwork it. We could spend 3 hours talking about funny stories about when I outworked problems and saved my own ass. I just assumed I'd be able to do that again with Active Life. And it's not true. I heard a great quote recently, and I forget the gentleman's last name. I should do him more justice. First name is Lee. He gives TED Talks and goes and speaks to corporate companies. There are only 2 reasons to build a team. They are that either the challenge or the opportunity is too large for one person to handle all by themselves. And I didn't understand that before I started. And so I created both huge problems and huge opportunities that necessitated building a team. And I don't know if I would have started it if I knew this is where it was going, but I'm thrilled I did.
Yeah, that's often a very common thread amongst those in any entrepreneurial venture. When asked if they would do it, if they could do it all over again, would they? And a lot of them, I don't know if it's the vast majority, but definitely a significant amount of them would say no, because just based on exactly what you said, they had no idea that it would be as hard as it actually was.
Well, I would say yes. And the reason I would say yes is because I've never been more fulfilled in my day-to-day than I am right now.
Yeah.
And there's no way I get here without going through what I had to go through to get here. And so I don't regret any of the pain. I don't regret any of the failures. I don't regret any of the difficulty. I would have liked to have been able to move through them more quickly, for sure. And I think that they shaped me.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you've overcome or outworked, to use your word, that you wish you could have gotten through or outworked faster?
How much time you got, Mike?
Well, I feel like there's an underlying theme, and correct me if I'm wrong in your response, that there's a lot of ego at play in terms of, I can figure this out on my own. Hence the solution to your issue, building a team instead.
Well, so I'm a great captain during chaos. So when things go south You want me there. When things are going well or things are mundanely improving, like there's the whole adage that a boring business is a good business. Don't mess with it.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle because now when things are going like that, I'm thinking about, okay, how do I accelerate way faster than this? And that's sometimes good and it's sometimes bad. And so if I could think of a specific example in which I wish, I don't wish, it would have been beneficial for us to move through it more quickly. There was a long period of time, about a year and a half, almost 2 years, and 3 years, in which I had a really good idea about how I thought a fitness business should run, a brick and mortar. And what I thought the coaches inside needed to know, how I thought they needed to be able to perform, what I thought the owner of the business needed to be able to pay them, what I thought they needed to be able to do in terms of earning that money. And I kind of kept it to myself close to the vest because I wasn't done thinking it through. And in reality, I should have unloaded it on more high implementing people than me right away and said, this is the why and this is the what. I have no idea as to the how, and I need your help with this. So that ended up taking me 2 years to realize. And then I finally kicked it over to our team who implement fast and effectively. And within a few months, we had opened our own brick and mortar. And within a few months after that, it was making more money than any brick and mortar business I ever owned.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a model to demonstrate for our clients. And it's been inspirational for everybody. So that's a really good example of where I just tried to iterate and iterate and iterate and iterate without the skill set to do it properly.
Now, you've had various seasons of your life, from the school and perspective of chiropractic
Mm-hmm.
into the fun and the toils of box ownership,
CrossFit box, yep.
and and probably a couple of stops in between, and now you're here at Active Life. Was each one of those stops the setup for the next season, the next mission, the next solution you were trying to solve?
Yes and no. I don't think I'm not here if I hadn't done all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm somewhere else. I'm somewhere adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
I was a personal trainer, then I was a chiropractor, then I owned CrossFit boxes. Then I was remote program designing for clients at the, Olympic medal level and professional athlete level. Then I was training coaches. And then we were training gym owners. Now we own our own brick and mortar. And now we're opening our second and third before the end of this year. And our 15th ideally is going to happen next year. So all of the things that I'm doing are solutions to problems that I've had. And effectively what I'm aiming to do is continuously put my old self out of business. What would render me useless? If we had this, okay, then let's do that. Because if I don't render myself useless, somebody else is going to.
I'm making a note. That's how do you reconcile that with the ego?
I squashed my ego, man. the I have enough ego in me. Let me rephrase that. I've reformed ego into self-esteem. And the difference between ego and self-esteem, I think, is who gets the credit. So ego for me was, I need to do this because I need people to know how good I am. I need people to know how successful I am. I need people to know what I'm capable of. I don't need people to know any of that. I need to know that we are successful, that we are world class, that we are helping people in a way that other people aren't even trying to help people yet. As long as we are doing that, I don't need any of the credit. And that's because I have enough self-esteem that if our team members are on podcasts, being celebrated around the world, being lauded as geniuses, and asked, why are you still at Active Life? You have so much to offer the world, and you're still working at this startup that's being bootstrapped. That would make me proud now. I wouldn't be jealous. I wouldn't be envious. I'd be proud.
When did you come to that conclusion, that way of thinking?
I tried to come to that way of thinking about 3 years ago. I embraced that way of thinking around April of this year because they're undeniable. Our team is they care so much, and they put their care into action that can be measured, and they're relentless at getting things done. And I'm appreciative of the people I have around me, and now I know what they're capable of. And when I get out of the way, they go faster.
Man, I tell you what, if there was one thing that I wish I had pulled the trigger on much earlier in my career, it would have been that. It would have been getting out of the way so that they can move faster. And I really think that's a tough pill to swallow for people that are not in active pursuit of their own self-awareness.
Mm-hmm. Well, because the ego gets in the way.
Mm-hmm. And the ego inhibits your ability to trust.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always the adage I've heard from many a mentor over the years in the building of the next level brand, and I'm sure that you've experienced it in Active Life and previous genres of your life as well, so that nobody's ever going to care about your mission and vision as much as you do. And I would contest that, in that, much like you've done, that is not the case when you have the right people on the right people on the team.
I think the reason why people believe that is because they set their businesses up to be successful for them and their family. And then they hope to be successful for their employees. And so there should be no surprise that the employees are not as inspired to make that business go as the owner when they're the afterthought. And I believe it's difficult for an employee to care as much about the financial success of the business as the owner.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that that's a difficult thing, because they have to make sure that they are taken care of and that the company is taken care of. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
But I do believe that our team is as invested in our mission as I am. And that's what's critical, because they're not going to be able to work towards our mission in any other company. And I think that's unique. And I think that that's freeing as a thought, both for me and for them.
Yeah. And for everybody that's not familiar with Active Life, what is the mission?
The mission is to empower a life of freedom without compromise. And so when we describe a life of freedom without compromise, what that means is you're going to live the life that you were meant to live. You're not going to compromise by seeing your wife less often, by being less healthy because you chased wealth, by being less wealthy because you chased health, by the bum ankle or the bum back that you have since high school, college, or sometime thereafter.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to compromise on any of these things anymore. And when I talk about compromise, I like to, I'm a guy who my brain works in, let's go to the extreme and then work our way back. And the extreme compromises that I think about that people refused to make in history are the ones that make people historically relevant. Abraham Lincoln refused to compromise on bloodshed in the Civil War because he decided it was worth bloodshed to make sure that the slaves were freed. Now, I know he had other things going on too, but he decided not to compromise. He could have said, look, slavery just doesn't extend beyond the South, and that was on the table. And he didn't make that compromise. Steve Jobs didn't compromise and build a bunch of custom computers like HP was doing back in the day and like Compaq was doing back in the day. He said, we're going to do this and we're going to do it at a world-class level. That list goes on and on and on and on. The US didn't compromise in World War II. You know, we did some nasty shit to some people, man, because we wanted to preserve a way of life for all people. And when you boil that stuff back, it's what are people compromising on in their day-to-day life that they don't even consider a compromise? Well, it's moms and dads who are seeing their kids less than they would like to and who aren't present when they're with them. Why? Because they're focused on making more money. They had a bad day at work. They don't love their job. They're not communicating well with each other. They don't feel healthy. They don't love the way that they feel or look in their own body anymore. And so all of that becomes something that they're dealing with mentally and internally, and they don't have the relationship with their kids that they would like to be able to have. That's a compromise. Choosing to stay in that state of mind and in that way of life is a compromise that nobody has to make. Another compromise is I don't go on hikes as often as I used to. I don't surf as often as I used to. I don't spar as often as I used to. I don't have sex with my wife as often as I used to. I don't coach my kids in Little League as much as I would like to because I have because of whatever. The because of are compromises that people make. They say, I would like to be able to do these things, but I can't because. And the unfortunate thing about the because there, and this is going to sound callous, and I know it's going to sound callous, and it is said with a lot of nuance to the way I'm describing it, but the because is because I've made choices that disallow me to. And as soon as people are able to decide, I do have agency, this is my responsibility, it will be hard to untangle. I cannot just do it all at once and quit my job and go do the things. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. But as soon as we can all decide that it is our responsibility to live a life without compromise, we can start planning it. And then we can execute on our own plan and we can live completely. And that's what Active Life helps people do, either by taking them in as clients and working with them to get out of pain without going to the doctor from anywhere in the world. Whether it's working with them in person at an Active Life flagship to fully live that life without compromise. Whether it's teaching the coach how to do that for their clients or empowering the gym owner to become the entrepreneurial employer who can support people who do that. That's what we do. And when it's someone comes to us and needs something that we don't do, we have a vast network of people we refer to. And we make the white glove handoff because we're agnostic to who gets paid for your success.
I love that. I paused because I didn't know if you had I didn't know if you had some more. The being agnostic towards who gets paid for your success. Mm-hmm. That is such a beautiful one-liner for putting the client first, serving the client's best interest. And I feel like, and you and I discussed this in one of our previous conversations about getting over your skis and taking on clients and obligations that are either outside your expertise or not fulfilling in their own right as a coach and a practitioner. What are some of the instruments or methods that you've introduced or put forth to help people embrace that?
Intentional thought. It is the most prevalent one. So on our awning, as you walk into Active Life inside in Long Beach, New York, our brick and mortar, and if we had a digital awning, it would say the same thing. It says education, exercise, and mindset, or mentorship, excuse me, education, exercise, and mentorship. I've considered changing that to say personal development disguised as health and fitness. And the thing that I believe makes us really unique and that I'm really proud of is if you can imagine the client who walks into the fitness business and says, I had a really bad night's sleep. What is the coach going to do when that person gets there? And I'm not suggesting this is what you guys do or what anybody specifically does when they're listening. I'm just giving you the general rule. The general rule is, okay, do you feel good to work out today? Yes. Awesome. We're going to scale it back a little bit. If you need to, just slow it down, take your time, move through it, follow your own intuition. If someone says that when they walk into active life, the professionals are going to greet them with a why? Why did that happen? And they're going to keep on having the conversation until it gets to the root of what is the decision that that person could have made that would have changed the course of all of the things that they experienced. And if that conversation ends up taking 60 minutes, the person doesn't work out that day. And that's okay. It might end up being that they decide they can sense it's going to take longer and they just decide to go on a walk together because that's what that person genuinely needs that day, not a hard workout. And I think that that's something that is generally missing because most of the time fitness businesses prioritize the fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when people say, so are you a gym? We say, we have one of those. So are you like a life coaching business? We do some of that. So are you like a school? Sometimes. The hard thing for people to understand is we're not anything like anything they've seen before. So to try and define us by the terms that are well understood doesn't work. So we just tell people we're an active life.
That's cool. So you created your own definition for your niche.
We'll turn it into a verb.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you, in all of that, I have absolutely no doubt, and it's been reaffirmed in conversations past, that you have achieved a level of self-mastery that allows you to stand in confidence with this new definition that is active life amidst all the ambiguity that came before it with commonplace nomenclature. And I feel like this is the perfect segue into my next question. In one of your posts a month or two ago, you talked about redefining imposter syndrome as integrity syndrome. Explain to me what you feel the difference is between those two and why integrity syndrome is the reframe for you.
Mm-hmm. So the only people I've ever met who don't have imposter syndrome are imposters. So there are people out there who would say, no, I'm not worried about the results my clients are going to get. I'm not worried that I can't solve the problem because they're paying me. So it's up to them to do the work. I'm like, oh, so you're a complete imposter. You don't actually care. And when you get people in a quiet room, they'll tell you themselves. You don't have to pull it out of them. They'll tell you. They'll basically say in their own vernacular, I'm an imposter. And I'm here to get paid. And those are the only people I've ever met who don't have imposter syndrome. Everybody else does. And when I start to think about what's at the root of imposter syndrome, it's actually integrity. Because it's fear that somebody is going to pay you and then trust you to solve a problem that they have, that you don't have the experience or the expertise to solve as completely as they would like it solved. And so you are projecting anxiety into the future that this person pays you, this person puts trust in you, and they put faith in you, and you let them down. And so you're afraid to take the money up front because you fear the ultimate letdown in the future. That's integrity. So now what needs to happen is you need self-esteem because you need to know that your promises will always be aligned ethically with your skill set. and that your language will properly articulate your promise. So I want to give people a bit of an out clause. Let me give you an easy way to overcome integrity syndrome. Tell people the truth. And I'm talking about like all of it. So here's an example, Michael. Before we started, I told you I want you to err on the side of hazard, not caution, as you ask me questions. And if you hear something that the audience would object to or have an objection to, I want you to voice the objection on their behalf so I can address it. If you were to be talking to me about enrolling with us as a coach, and you're like, I want to go through ALP, I want to turn pro and become an active life professional. And you're asking me, should I do it? I wouldn't ever tell you yes. I would say, instead of me sharing with you why you should do it, can we go into all of the reasons why it might be a bad idea? Because if I can't talk you out of it, I'm sure as shit going to talk you into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell people in the cases where it's true, like I'll always tell the truth. We've never had somebody in your exact situation be successful, but we've had people in a lot of different situations that are different than everyone else's situations be successful. And so I can't promise you success. No. Let's just start there. I've never walked in your shoes. I am afraid that your discomfort with high conflict conversations, that your financial scarcity, that your upbringing is going to make it more difficult for you to be successful. That does scare me. And you need to know that going in. And I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to be able to get you where you want to go. The only thing I can promise is that we're going to give it everything that we have to get you there. And so you have to believe in yourself enough, and you have to believe in us and our tools enough to think that this is going to work. And if you do, I'd be happy to share with you why I agree with you or why I don't. But you have to first tell me that you think it could. And if they're like, I honestly don't know, like, then we shouldn't go any further. Mm-hmm. And the example for a coach, to make it really simple for you guys in gyms, is, or in any business, let's pretend that somebody comes to you and they say, hey, I want to lose 150 pounds. And you're like, okay, I don't see why I couldn't help this person do that. And I really, really, really want you to. So you err on the side of, let me have them come to buy, right? That's where it starts. Like, yes, 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 yes. Then you get to the part of the conversation where the person says, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. I don't know if I can afford that. And then you're like, okay, well, if it's too much, it's okay. Like, I don't mean to pressure you. Come back another day. That's where it all breaks down. So we got to start at a different place. If instead of starting with, yes, I can help you, if the truth is you've never helped somebody lose 150 pounds and you don't know the complications that come with that, things like foot, ankle, and low back pain from too much weight bearing, toenails falling off from walking in shoes, skin rashes from folds rubbing against each other. The list goes on. If you've never experienced that before, and you know that, what happens is you are having to hold on to those cards while the other person is trying to suss out whether you have those cards or not. You follow?
Yep.
So the goal here is to have a symbiotic relationship. I'm going to help you. So if we were going to play poker and you've never played before, how would we play the first hand, Mike? Cards up.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know I'm really trying to help you. This is what I would do. This is why. Now you see my cards. Now I see yours. Right. Yes, great. So what if instead of saying, yes, I'm extremely confident I can help you, you said, look, I want to straight up with you. I have never worked with somebody with the amount of weight to lose that you have. I don't know anything about what could come up because I've never had to research it before and I've never experienced it before. I've only been coaching for about 6 months. And I do it because I have a passion for helping people. I don't have any advanced education or any reason to believe that I'm the best coach in the world for you. The only thing I can promise you is that I'm going to work until I figure out how to solve this problem with you. I'm going to research. I'm going to try things with myself first. I'm going to go network and learn from the best I can find. And we won't be done until you've got the results that you want, so long as you can stick around with me while I figure it out. If that is unsettling to you, I totally understand. And you should work with somebody else. But if you value that, no one's going to work as hard for you as I am.
Mm-hmm.
All of your cards are face up. All of them. They don't have to say to you, are you sure? How do you know? Who have you done it before? You just told them, I have never done this before. Straight up. And they chose you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That feels good.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Michael, is like being in a relationship and lying to the person you're with. And then hoping they never find out about that thing.
Right.
You can't be yourself around that person.
Exactly. You talked about, challenging your thoughts. When you're having your responses, when you're having these conversations with clients and coaches alike, and you're essentially exposing them to a better version of themselves that they may or may not be ready to see or accept as possible, how do you give them that gift of agency and choice without them holding it against you? Because there's a difference between taking responsibility for your situation and saying that it's all my fault.
There's a difference between fault and responsibility.
Right.
The fault is shared. The responsibility is owned. So there were a line of things that happened that led us to this position, and other people were involved. But the only person who had the agency of decision every single time was you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we parse that out to begin with. It is true. There are unfair scenarios that people come through. We don't live in an equal world where everybody has the same opportunity when they start. Technically, we do, but feasibly, we don't. If you grew up and didn't know anybody who was ever successful financially in your life except the guy who dealt drugs, the only path that you know to be financially successful is to deal drugs. And so you don't have the opportunities of life experience that the person who grew up in a very successful neighborhood with parents who loved them, who were successful, has to be successful. You need outside influence that you don't already have exposure to. That's not fair, and it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And you were still responsible for all of the decisions that you did and did not make, even though you didn't have a fair start. You follow me on that thought?
Oh, 100%. Yep.
And so now the question that you were asking me is, how do you help somebody start to see the possible future that they don't necessarily even believe is true? Is that where we were going?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes they don't.
Okay.
So instead of showing somebody what I believe is potentially true for them, I show them what I know is absolutely possible for them very quickly. So if you got to the base of a mountain, you looked up and there were just clouds. You couldn't even see the top of the mountain. And in front of you, all that you could see was one step. And someone next to you who you trust and love says, let's just take a step and see where this goes. Pretty soon, you can't see the bottom of the mountain. And you can't see the top. So now you're in this decision-making zone where it's scary to go either direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you need the person next to you to really be compelling. And that's when you need a lot of self-esteem, not confidence. They're different. Confidence is circumstantial. Self-esteem is persistent. Confidence is I'm confident in this scenario. Self-esteem is I'm confident in me. And then conviction is taking the confidence in yourself and seeing it through, regardless. So I only show them the first step. And oftentimes asking, if we took this one little step and we got this one little result, would it be worth the risk of the step? When they say yes, I don't have to talk about anything else. Because oftentimes they can't even see the next step and there's no reason to talk to them about how beautiful it is at the top. We can just start climbing.
Yeah.
I actually had a real life example of this with my wife when I was in Arizona. We were in Sedona. We were climbing to Devil's Bridge.
Oh, love that. Yeah.
And on our way up, on our way down, people kept on asking, "Are we close? Are we close? Are we close?" And finally, I just got annoyed for them. And I asked somebody who asked, "Are we close?" I said, may I ask you a question?" He said, "Sure." I said, "Close to what?" They said, close to the bridge. I said, "You're about an hour away from the bridge. Why are you climbing to the bridge?" Like, we heard the view's awesome. The view is awesome. "May I show you something?" They said, "Sure." I said, "Turn around." And they turned around and I said, "That view's awesome too." And I would highly recommend that you take that one in all the way to the top, because I don't think the top was all that much better than this one. And I could have been enjoying it, or you could have been enjoying it for 4 hours to the top, or you could just wait until you got there and enjoy it for 30 minutes and then walk back down. And my wife was like, "Do you do this everywhere you go?" Yeah, I do. And the person was like, no, that's really good perspective. Thank you. I said, "You're welcome." And then we just walked our way down. But that's how I think too many people are living life. Are we almost there? Where? Yeah. Where? You're there already. Just look around and you'll be somewhere else in a few steps.
That reminds me of, have you read the book, The Gap in the Gain?
No.
I'm horrible with authors, but I'll plug it. I'll send it to you. The premise of the book is ridding yourself of the anxiety of the future and the depression of the past so that you can just be present in the here and the now. When we're chasing the "are we there yet" of it all and don't really have an appreciation for what we've overcome to get to this moment, i.e. the beautiful view that is behind us, it robs us of these moments and memories that we're creating in the here and now. As you and I are in this conversation, for me to be thinking about what's next beyond this podcast or all the shit that transpired prior to it, and finding this comfortable position after knee surgery, it kills the ability to be here in the moment and squeeze the most juice out of this experience possible. And I feel like the Devil's Bridge example story that you just told really highlights that premise.
Well, were you coaching, Con? Remind me.
I was not.
Okay, so you just local to it. So I got a chance to speak at Coaching Con, and I remember being in the room with all these big heavy hitter names. Mm-hmm. And my wife, it was the first time I brought my wife to an event I was speaking in. She says to me, "So this is really cool." And I remember saying yes and half meaning it, because I was pissed. My mindset was, I am every bit as good as every single person in this room. Mm-hmm. And most of the people in that audience don't know who I am yet. What am I doing wrong? I was pissed. And it wasn't the best attitude in hindsight. Mm-hmm. But it was the truth. And what I've spent a lot of time thinking about why. And what I've come to realize is that I believe that anybody who is going through any kind of intentional personal development, they're going to develop as a person faster than their life can catch up. And so by the time that our life catches up to who we were, we've left that person. And now we feel like we deserve more because we've advanced. And eventually life will catch up to that person. But if we keep progressing, we go faster than life. And so we're constantly ahead of what we get. And it wasn't until I realized that, that I was able to find peace with it. And that was around the same time that I started to relax and allow the team to take more responsibility. And the best way I can give people to think about that is if you go back 2 years, and you picture where you were in life, and you said to that version of yourself, I want to paint a picture for you of what life is going to look like for you. And then you painted the picture of exactly what life looks like today. Would you 2 years ago have been happy about it? And if the answer is yes, and you today isn't, it just indicates that you're moving faster than life can catch up. That's all. And that's a good thing.
What if the answer is no?
Work harder.
I love it, man. I love it.
And when I say work harder, by the way, I mean on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Where do you think the crossroads of, or the intersection of do you believe that to be absolute and that your growth will outpace your life?
I don't know.
Or is there an intersection at some point, or has it intersected in the past?
So the only time I've ever felt as if life had caught up to me is when I was very immature.
Okay.
It was getting high on my own supply. I had Olympic athletes flying out to my office to see me. I had professional baseball players flying out to see me, CrossFit Games champions, CrossFit Games athletes. I was at the CrossFit Games in 2017 and 2018 with over 40 athletes under care. And I was like, I'm the man. Like, what? I'm great. And don't get me wrong. I was really good at what I was doing. But in terms of emotional and social development, I wasn't. I was just a really good technician. And so that was the only time in my life that I was like, yeah, this is the life I'm supposed to be living. Ever since then, ever since I really started digging into me, I've thought I'm supposed to be living a better life than the life I'm living, and life has only gotten better year after year, day after day. And by the way, I want your listeners to know I'm still frustrated. Like, don't take me as some Zen Buddhist monk. I'm still pissed off that I'm not where I feel like I'm supposed to be. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I think that. Well, I feel like that it's necessary that inherent internal friction is good. That in and of itself is intrinsic motivation, or a sign of it, where you're on a mission to pull something out of yourself that an external stimulus could not provide.
I hope so. I hope so, man.
I think there's something to be said for that kind of ambition, to your point, not compromising, right? To compromise would have been to stop at that intersection and say, this is as good as it gets, baby. I got 40 athletes under care at the games, and I want to maintain this. I don't want to supersede it.
In 2020, by July, Active Life was profiting somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000 a month, depending on the month. And I remember being like, damn, I am making so much money. and turning to my mentor and be like, we're doing it, man. And he's like, are we? I said, yeah, what are you talking about? Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, it's cool. But is that what we say we want to do? So what are you talking about? He's like, is everything that we're talking about wanting to do about building an industry adjacent to fitness and healthcare true? Or are we just looking to make a lot of money? It's like, because look, it's fine. If you change your mind, you just want to make a lot of money, then you're doing great. But if you truly want to do something that creates a new industry, we've done nothing. We have a lot to do. And so to make a long story short, I ended up taking all of that profit, all of it, and pumping it into building out a real team and building a real corporate infrastructure so that we could have a much more solid foundation on which we could build.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the qualities of the mentors that you seek and work with?
They're extremely generous. That's the first thing that comes to mind. They're generous with their intellect. They're generous with their time. They're generous with their thought. That's number one in the mentors. They're curious. They typically ask a lot more questions than they do tell me things. They're courageous. So a mentor I want to work with is happy to step into it with me, roll up their sleeves, get a little bit dirty, and they're happy to tell me, Sean, that doesn't sound like you're aligned with what you're saying. And I need people like that in my life. One of the things that my mentor, who I work with now, who I consider to be a good friend, Ken Andrew Go, I said his last name wrong. I've been working with him for 4 years. I should know how to say his name. He explained to me that the way our company works, the way that I function, this is a couple of years ago, should be thought about like a long hallway, and everybody has their desks in their offices in the hallway, and everybody operates with their doors open when my door is closed. And as soon as I open my door, everybody knows I'm walking down the hallway, they all slide their chairs over and close their doors because they don't want to be interrupted from what they're doing by me. And I have a way of not respecting the work that they've done, the thought that's gone into it, the planning that they've done in order to do what they're trying to accomplish right now. And so I'll give them something new to focus on, which throws everything that they were just doing away. And they want to please me.
Mm-hmm.
So we created a structure that disallows me from doing that. And we've toggled back and forth with how much of that should I do? How much of that shouldn't I do? And I'll always respect him for telling me I'm the problem, so that I can become the solution.
Yes.
That's something I've always really, really appreciated.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I just told my team this week as I was going into surgery, the trust that I have in them is not just so that I can go get this surgery and things aren't going to fall apart, but also they have the expertise, the know-how, and the resources to get the job done with or without me. And I will not be the speed bump in the progression of next level. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of what I'm hearing you say it sounds like it's in that vein, in that we're building something bigger than Michael, something bigger than Sean, bigger than the individual. So, and any one of us cannot be that speed bump.
I think of myself as rocket fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's good to burn some.
Yeah.
The rest of the time it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And if you burn it in the wrong location at the wrong time, people get hurt.
Right.
But if you burn it in the right place at the right time,
Mm-hmm.
people take flight.
Yeah.
So I just have to be careful and intentional about when I burn it up.
Yeah. I think this is a great place to cut it, man. Where I'm grateful for this conversation, all of your insight and perspective, man. It's like really and truly the giving people back that agency that they may or may not know that they have is at any level, whether it's personal or professional, massive. And I feel like we accomplished that today. So thank you, man.
My pleasure. I appreciate you giving me the platform to do it.
100%. Speaking of platforms, where can the Progress Always audience go and support everything that Sean and Active Life have going on?
Easiest place to find me is on Instagram, and I link everything from there. So head to at Dr. Sean Pastuch on Instagram, and I'll please, by the way, when you come find me, send me a DM and tell me you found me from this podcast. I respond to every DM when people follow me on Instagram. With the exception of extraneous circumstances, I send a thank you, a personalized thank you for following me on Instagram. So I want to engage with everybody.
Right on. We'll make that happen.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you.
For everybody out there in the audience, quick shout out to our sponsors and partners for supporting the show. Check out everything that we have going on in the show notes. And remember, if you want progress always, all you got to do is 3 things. Keep your promises, do hard things, and make yourself proud. And when you're ready to have that conversation, there's a link in the bottom for us to have a quick discovery call, and we can start moving you towards whatever your next level may be. Until next time, guys, progress always.